It is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, a man whom many of you know very well. He is guiding the transformation of Arizona State University into one of the nation's leading public metropolitan research universities. Under his leadership, ASU has become the new American university. ASU, under his leadership, has also taken innovative approaches to ensuring Latino students have access and opportunities to complete a post-secondary degree. We are fortunate to have such a visionary leader in our state. He is going to talk about the challenge ahead for Arizona and the opportunity for our state to lead the nation in Latino success. Before I bring him up on the stage, let me introduce a short video that'll tell us a little bit more.
Human beings are each gifted with the capacity to be a learning, evolving, creative creature. There's no reason to say, well, that person can only do that, or this person can only do this.
I have witnessed firsthand the transformative power of a college education. We really feel that it's important for us to carry through President Crow's vision and mission, which is to be defined by who we include and not who we exclude.
The more you know early on, the more you can be in control of your pathway to hopefully come in to be one of our students here at the university. A bachelor's degree or a college education from Arizona State University, quite frankly, is an investment in your future.
The Me3 app is a tool for students to explore what interests they might have and look at how that relates to colleges that they may be interested in attending.
It's helpful because I didn't really know what my major was going to be. It just gave me a couple pictures and just told me which picture interested me more.
I've noticed that a lot of students, especially in high school, are visual learners, and it's a different tool.
You supply opportunity to kids around Phoenix that may not know that they can go to college. So what you're doing is you're saying, look, there's all these possibilities out there to better yourself and better the people around you, and here's how, how I got there, and here's how you can get there too.
I'm a first-generation student, so when I share my story, I talk about how it was hard for me to come here, and then even me being proud to be here because I am the first in my family to be here.
Students really need an early awareness of what it takes to be college ready. We really want our incoming freshman class to be reflective of the demographics of the state of Arizona.
Learning is for everyone. Adaptation is for everyone. If we can make our universities produce master learners more dedicated to the betterment of our society, we will have had a major impact on the outcome of humanity.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Michael Crow, President of Arizona State University.
Thank you, Vince. Let me start with this. It really is, before I get into a somewhat academic lecture. Sorry about that. 2 points that I want to make before I walk through the data about our imperative in terms of driving our economy forward. And the first has to do with this thing, state of mind. This issue of immigration and this issue of America and the idea of America and people coming from everywhere is absolutely essential to understand from an historical perspective so that we might see the opportunity that is ahead of us. All waves of immigrants have been resisted. All. Period. No one has yet, let me just back up a little bit. One immigrant group not too long ago was banned from entry to the United States. One immigrant group that had even attained citizenship as naturalized citizens upon committing a crime was exited from the United States. Other immigrant groups had their property seized by the American government and sold at public auction without due process. I won't walk through the entire list of all of the ways in which ignorance raises its head. But that, in fact, at the end of the day, is what it is. It's ignorance. And so here's the actual opportunity for Arizona. No state, California, Texas, Florida, the other states that Dr. Olivas had up on his screen, no state has ever achieved what Arizona can achieve, which is a place in which all people come together from a range of cultural backgrounds and a range of family backgrounds, and all have the opportunity to achieve greatness at the same level. No one has achieved that in this country. No one. And so for me, the perspective that I have in designing the institution with my colleagues on the faculty and the staff, and all the energy that we have from the community and the ideas that we have from the community, the idea that we have about the new American university, being a university which measures itself based on who we include and how they succeed, and not who we exclude, that will not be successful until it actually represents the totality of the ethnic and socioeconomic diversity of our place. It is not successful until it does that. It will not be successful until our graduates also equally represent that totality of diversity. We are building that university because America has yet to achieve its goal. Equal opportunity for all, equal justice for all, liberty for all, equal liberty for all. Live your life. That has not yet been attained. It is an unbelievable goal. And so one thing that I try to do in the midst of all of the forces of ignorance that are around us is I don't pay any attention to them. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my time. If they get in my way, I don't stand by them for very long. I move past them because I don't really want to be near them. And so what I mean by that is we have this unbelievable opportunity in Arizona to become the first place to achieve this kind of American dream that has yet to have been achieved. And for us, there is one variable. There's lots of places with stresses and strains beyond the things that we've seen here in Arizona, all over the country. Just watch the news, where racial and ethnic energies are so negative that it's uncomfortable to even know what direction to move in. Here, we have positive energy, positive forces, positive people who are aspiring for the American dream. And there's, of the 150 or so things that one can look at and say, what would be the one thing that would be the most empowering? What would be the one thing that would be the most powerful? What would be the one thing that could make the most difference? Because you can't worry about everything. And this is what confuses me about leaders in this state. They make it so much harder than it actually is. The one thing that we need to focus our energy on is the educational attainment of all people, and in particular, people of Latino descent. Absolutely. Now, how do we do that, and why do we do that? I've put on here, I've used the word economic imperative, and so I'm going to not play to the ideals of social justice only. I'm not going to play to the ideals of democracy, of equal opportunity. I'm going to play to the baser elements of American culture, economic greed. Our economic imperative, our economic success, will be dependent upon the realization of the American dream. And here's an interesting thing. Among all ethnic groups, which is very difficult to define, by the way, even within single ethnic groups, there's multiple groups and multiple groups and layers of groups and layers of groups. That group with the highest aspiration for attainment of the American dream, Latinos, of all other groups. What does that tell me about Arizona's demographics? All I can say is hallelujah. if you have that aspiration, energizing large parts of your population, there is nothing that you cannot achieve. And that aspiration is energizing large parts of the population here in Arizona. Now, higher education and social mobility. Now, I get in arguments. I had an argument with a senior elected politician a few months ago. It was unbelievable. He told me that there is no correlation between educational attainment and economic competitiveness. No correlation between educational attainment and social mobility. He didn't even know for sure what social mobility meant. Well, here's what it means. On the left side of this chart, if you do not have a college degree and you're raised as a child in that family, your incomes, you'll end up, 45% of you will end up in the bottom fraction. If you have a college degree, you can see the change. It alters your social mobility. The rate of return on investment in higher education per person, to the person, is 15% per year for that person's life. So all this gibberish that you hear about college not being worth it and the investment in going to college not being worth it, or post-secondary education, community college, technical school, university not being worth it, it is literally gibberish. Proffered by individuals who have some other kind of agenda. The return on the investment is unbelievable. Now, this chart should get your attention. This shows income differences by generation on average based on educational attainment. So starting on the left, the silent generation, the early boomers, the late boomers, through time, you can see basically the gap. The bachelor's degree, like it or not, college attainment, like it or not, has produced for the millennials the level of gap that you see between income potential. So what's the unemployment rate for people with college degrees in the United States that are older than 25? It's 1.9% as we speak. Again, the market for college graduates, the demand for educated people, the demand for people that know how to think flexibly and advance and move their lives forward and adjust and learn new things. College degrees, community college degrees, university degrees, college degrees, technical school degrees, completion of high school, what they mean is, and they mean only one thing, you're better prepared for adaptation with them than without them. And then people will say, well, what about Steve Jobs? Okay. Freak of nature. The rest of us have to go to school. So, here's a chart that should get everybody's attention, and I apologize for this academic stuff. Far left, where all the dots are together, think of that as the start point, December 2007. How has the economy worked since then? If you don't have a high school diploma, the blue line, 15% fewer jobs, not lower unemployment, fewer jobs in the economy. I have a sibling that does not have a high school diploma, the brother right behind me. Not a good life. Very few options. Smart guy. Too bad. Bad choices. Too bad. The brother right after him joined the Marines as a private, became an officer, going to college while he was in the Marines, taught himself engineering. He's a senior distinguished engineer for a major engineering company. Taught himself. He's on that yellow line. My other brother's on that blue line. More jobs are available for more education. Again, not because of the education, because you have a higher ability to adapt. You have an ability to adapt more quickly. And I'm going to fly through these. Economic recovery for people without college degrees in general didn't occur. What about Arizona? So I like to look at Arizona against other states. I like to look at the counties in Arizona against other counties. Undergraduate enrollment as a percent of the population aged 18 to 24. Utah and Colorado outperform us in everything economic. They also happen to have more people in college in that particular age. If we could just change Latino college going rates, we'd be above Utah. It's not a complex problem. It's a simple problem. We make it hard sometimes. We get it all mixed up with other things. Sacramento County, this is undergraduate college enrollment as a percent of 18 to 24-year-olds. I put in Maricopa County, which is the size of most states. I like to look at California by counties because people look and compare things in ways that are just too big and too aggregate. You can see that we're on the wrong side of the chart. If you look at San Bernardino and Riverside, Maricopa in Arizona, you'd think it has something to do with the desert. The closer you are to the water, somehow there's some advantage. Well, I don't believe that either, but you can see where we are. Percentage of all youths enrolling in post-secondary education. Well, that gold one way over on the right, that would be our house. It's easy to fix. Focus, focus, focus. Easy to fix. This is not the kinds of problems that they're facing in Missouri or Baltimore or other places with very complex, multi-hundred-year issues with unbelievable structural issues that have to be resolved. This is Arizona, which is already an unbelievably diverse place, already an unbelievably, believe it or not, open place. We don't do as well among low-income families going on to college as the country does as a whole. 95% of that explanation, 90% of that explanation, again, is we need to put a huge focus on Latino student success. Now this chart, bachelor degree attainment for the population aged 25 to 34. If I'm a leader in the state of Arizona, I would not sleep at night if I was a political elected leader looking at this chart. Colorado, Washington, the country as a whole, Utah, Texas, nowhere near, but solvable. This chart is the scariest chart in all the charts that I have, and I have thousands of charts. This is per capita gross domestic product relative to the U.S. average 1997 to 2014. Arizona is now below the 80th percentile. You can see where Washington, Texas, Colorado, Utah is. We're going down. We used to be, historically for a decade, at the national average or above it. This is a function of one thing, educational attainment. And I'm going to really speed up here. So this is the U.S., the relationship between education and economic growth. So your educational attainment and the economic growth of your place are directly correlated. You can see how far Arizona is from the U.S., how far the U.S. is from that tiny place called Singapore. Think of Singapore as our actual target. So Singapore is about the same size as Maricopa County in population. Similar economy size as Arizona itself. Look at our educational attainment, however, and look at the income distributed across the population. Look at that as a function of education. It's only about education. It's about educational attainment. Education is one of the things actually mandated in the Constitution of the state for the elected executive and the elected legislators to focus their energy on, including universities. I've never done a percentage of time they actually spend talking about that, but I'll bet that it's low. Relationship between change in educational attainment and economic development in the states. Bottom of the chart, percentage having a bachelor's degree. Top of the chart, going on the up axis, is growth. You can see where Arizona is against other states. Again, educational attainment. That's, by the way, our investment trend. That would be negative. So most people don't believe this chart. Going forward, 68% of all jobs will require a post-secondary education. That means, that assumes a 100% graduation rate from high school. And 68% of the jobs after that requiring something after high school, technical certificate, military training, community college, university. 68%. Nowhere near where we are. You can see these numbers. Way below where we need to be, all solvable. By the way, when I present these numbers, these are like exciting things to me. These are things to be fixed, things to be solved, things to be worked on. So this new kind of world, this new kind of America, this new kind of economy is not one where a few kids go to college, is not one where a handful of people are selected for some elite kind of training. It's not an economy where a handful of people graduate from high school and go on to do this or that, and everyone else is just left being paid minimum wage and doing repetitive tasks. The new economy requires a new kind of university, so we decided to do this. Just please read this very carefully. This is the charter of your public university, completely, totally, and utterly dedicated to this objective. Now, our goals are to demonstrate that we can be accessible and fantastically successful academically, that we enhance our local impact and impact the community, that we become a global center. We can't grow the economy in isolation. It's to be a global center for knowledge, a global center for discovery. I won't spend much time in this, but our goal is to produce a master learner from any family, from any background, from any family income level, who can be a critical learner and critical thinker and a master learner. About 40% of our students are first generation right now at ASU. We're working on a theory. So here's the theory. And most of you would agree with this. Oh, no, we can't get everybody through high school. We can't do that. It's impossible. If that's impossible, you should just fold up, retire, move to someplace, and live on the beach because you're worthless. You've given up. You've given up. So we decided to advance the ASU Preparatory Academy to see whether or not we could take several thousand students on multiple campuses. Could we greatly improve performance, which we did? And on the left side, if you look, ASU Prep rates a 98% four-year high school graduation rate. So therefore, let me tell you to this bluntly, and Beatriz Rendon, she was in the video, she's over there somewhere, she's our leader of all these things that we have. That's not successful. 98% graduation rate, including kids from low-income minority families, with 92% going on to some kind of post-secondary education, including 76% admitted to four-year degree-granting institutions from communities that typically admit a handful of a percent to a four-year community and have half their students graduating from high school. This is not yet successful, and Beatriz knows this. 100% graduation is success. So one of the things that we've done in Arizona is we're being too soft on ourselves, too easy, too lazy. You can see how I won't walk through this other than to say that we're out there and we're doing this. Me 3, you saw this in the video. Let me go back to that just very quickly. One of our barriers to student success and one of our barriers to Latino student success is you need lots of advice to plan for the world at the speed that it's moving. Parents and teachers and others are really important and really critical, but they're not enough. How do you reach the kid directly? So we built a tool with local philanthropy that can reach any student, any child, and help them plot their course to college through high school. This is now being deployed as we speak. It will impact hundreds of thousands of people's lives. This is an unbelievable way in which we're finding a way to reach out and to be inclusive. Access ASU. Here is what we can say about ASU. If you work hard in high school, you take the right courses, you get B's in those courses at least, you are admitted. You have no money, it makes no difference. You come from a broken home, no difference. You come from a foster home, no difference. You're homeless, no difference. Your parents don't speak English, no difference, no difference, no difference, no difference. You will find your way to the university, and we have built the university in a way with technology, with culture, with change, with the way that we're operating that you will then advance. We've doubled our 4-year graduation rate. We've greatly enhanced our success. We've greatly diversified the university. We have a student body that is actually representative of the complete socioeconomic diversity of the state. All of that is underway, but you have to build the institution to do that. We work with partner schools in these school districts and others, with thousands of students coming from these districts. You can get some sense of the diversity. 64% Hispanic from these schools. The kind of scale that we're working with, the diversity that we're working with, for us to enhance educational attainment and thus economic success and thus Arizona's success, you have to go back and actually rework the institutions. You have to redesign the university. You have to redesign the schools. You have to redesign the community colleges. Ultimately, you have to redesign the political institutions also to be able to focus on these kinds of things. So again, the scale is what I'm trying to show you here, of visits and engagements and so forth. Now, again, scale, numbers of families, numbers of groups, college readiness. We have found people prepared to go to college who then have the ability to graduate from college. ASU is now graduating many times, not many percent, many times the number of Latino students that we graduated in the 1990s. Let me give you one statistic. In 1990, 3% of the student body at ASU came from families of median income or below. The majority of Hispanic families in Arizona are at median income and below. 3% in 1990 of the students at ASU came from those families. Right now, at median income or below, half our students come from those families at ASU. Not 3%, half. It's a tremendous, tremendous transformation of how we're working the university and how we're advancing the university. How do we pay for all of this? That's the kind of financial aid that we're delivering to our students coming from our partner districts, eliminating all financial barriers. Now, one of the problems that we have in the Latino communities are a lack of willingness to believe any of this. That we have this kind of financial aid and that the financial barriers are not real, that they can be overcome, and that they can be overcome relatively easily. Look at what we're getting in terms of persistence rate and graduation rate. These numbers are 2 times what they were in recent memory. Again, students from schools, direct engagement, direct community engagement. I'm trying to give you a sense of how you do this. Pathways program. We now have thousands, more than 10,000 transfer students from community colleges coming to ASU through programs that we've built. Start at the community college, stay at home, take the right courses, and be automatically admitted into a degree program. When I took office at ASU in 2002, there was little interest or no interest in even talking to people from community colleges because of an elitist attitude and a stuck-up, we're better than you attitude. Either that attitude has changed or those people are gone. It's true. They're over there in the back. Community college. It's a bridge, but one thing that you can see is that the community college is not being taken advantage of by the Latino community to the extent that it could be. Again, scale, size, I'm trying to give you some sense of the numbers. Financial aid. Now, this number, I want you to make sure you 2013, 2014 on the far side, total aid awarded. That number at the top, this is just at ASU, that would be $1 billion. Just at ASU. $1 billion. And 250 million of that, 300 million of that is from ASU itself per year, to make certain that there are no financial barriers. So I want to say something when people think that somehow educational success and personal wealth are correlated. They are, except not here. We have addressed that. This is for Latino students at ASU. $200 million a year. Entrepreneurship, a big thing at the university. We're building it into the culture of the university, building it into the dynamism of the university. Oh, I want to go back to one number, by the way. Third bullet down, 95,000 disconnected youth. Opportunity youth is the word that we use. People between 16 and 24 who are not in school and have no job and no income. Phoenix is 5th in the United States for the number of those individuals. That's a targeted group that we need to focus a lot of attention on. And it's very important that we do that. Student entrepreneurship, we're starting companies, teaching entrepreneurship, driving entrepreneurship, making things happen. Community entrepreneurship, outreach networks, community building networks. There's hundreds of these groups connected to the university right now. Here's what happens if we ignore Latino educational attainment as an objective, which, by the way, we are not paying enough attention to it now. This is what happens. By the way, all of these things will actually require the government, which doesn't want to spend much money, to spend more money. You could spend less money by investing in education and have a net positive outcome over time by achieving higher levels of educational attainment. So, how do we work together? I think the way to work together, and let me make this as my final point, the way to work together is we need an attitude adjustment. Our attitude adjustment, in my view, should now focus all of our energy on the positive. We have a simple objective: Latino educational attainment. That simple objective then is tied to the success of Arizona. If we achieve that, Arizona becomes the model state. Not the state to be ridiculed because of loudmouth bigots, but the state to be recognized as having achieved something that no one else has achieved. Meaning, and I mean this with all sincerity, we have achieved a level of capability to make this happen. This is doable. This is achievable. But it's something that requires us to now focus our energy on Latino educational attainment, focus our attention on designing institutions to be able to make that achievement, focus our achievement on driving an understanding among and between all of the various cultures that make up Arizona, and making all of this work. And we have to stop talking about negative things, even when they're going on around us, because that doesn't produce the outcome. To achieve the outcome, we can only achieve the outcome by changing the high school graduation rate, the college going rate, and the college success rate. That then produces the outcomes that we're looking for. Therefore, all other things, while maybe important, do not achieve that outcome. And so the other thing that I would say is that it is a long-haul proposition. You don't snap your fingers and things happen here right away in this particular arena. Education is a process of producing people. It's a multi-year thing, 12 years in K through 12, and then college and so forth, 15, 20 years. And so it requires intense focus over very long periods of time. What I can say to you is that your public university, Arizona State University, our culture has been altered, our energy has been altered, our focus has been altered. We are committed to the success of Arizona as what America is supposed to be. And so, with that, thank you very much and good morning.